In this video, I'm going to experiment pouring 8 gallons of epoxy resin in a single pour. I'm also going to do it using a household appliance that is very common. And stick around to the very end where I'll go over all the specifics and recommendations so you can do this yourself. Now the first question is, why do you want to do this? For me, I create these sculptures out of epoxy and they have anywhere from 8 to 13 gallons of epoxy. When I do these pours, I actually have to do them in 6 to 8 different layers. That way the epoxy isn't too thick to cause an exothermic reaction, and we'll get into that soon. When you pour these layers, there will be a very faint seam line in between each layer, like you can see here and right here on this sculpture. It's not crazy, but it's enough to make me want to do this all in one pour. Now the reason why you don't want to do this all in one pour is because of the exothermic reaction. This reaction is dreaded by epoxy users everywhere. Has your epoxy ever heated up enough to start smoking? Has it even melted the cup that it's in? Or even changed colors from transparent to yellow? And lastly, it can cause huge fractures in your epoxy. All of these are causes from the exothermic reaction. Now that we know the signs of the exothermic reaction, let's talk about why this happens. There's really only 3 factors here. You mixed up too much epoxy at once, the temperature is too hot in the room or wherever you're doing your pour, or 3, you have the wrong kind of epoxy. And for this experiment, I'm going to be breaking all the rules. I'm going to try and pour 3 to 4 times the recommended depth on the bottle. Now there is one tool to make all of this possible, and it's probably something completely unexpected. Now if you have any guesses of what this is, let me know down in the comments. I'm super interested to see what you guys think this is. If you guessed chest refrigerator / freezer, you are right. This is gonna be my absolute game changer. And what makes this thing so special is it is a refrigerator. I'm gonna go ahead and put a link to this refrigerator down in the description, and I know they do make 2 sizes. This is the larger size. They do make a smaller one. And speaking of game changers, here is one more. This mold release wax tub I have had for, no joke, over 5 years, and it's super easy. All you do is wipe it on, let it dry, and do one more coat. Throw that Tyvek tape in the garbage. That stuff is super expensive. I'll put a link to this down in the description and it will last you forever. Here's one more pro tip for you. Silicone the bottom of the melamine before you actually bolt and screw everything together. This will ensure you have 0 leaks when you do the final pour. Okay, we are finally ready for our experiment now. And I don't know about you guys, but I do not feel like wasting 8 gallons of epoxy just for an experiment, so I'm going all in. I have a beautiful piece of black walnut burl here that I'm going to be using for the pour. So I don't know if these actually do anything, but I thought, why not? I got a bunch of packets of silica gel and I threw them all around the refrigerator, hoping it will wick up some moisture because you don't want any kind of moisture getting into your epoxy. I also have this cheap little battery powered fan that I'm going to keep on low inside the refrigerator the entire pour. Now let's quickly talk about different kinds of epoxy and what to use. Moss offers all different kinds of epoxies for a wide range of applications. What we're going to be using is Deep Pour X, and for you guys, Moss is offering a fantastic deal. They are giving 30% off all Deep Pour X for the next 30 days. Use the code BlakeDPX in the checkout and I will put a link to that below. It's crucial that you use the correct epoxy for what you're trying to do. If you're trying to do any pours over even a ½ inch, you want to use a deep pour epoxy. This epoxy outperforms most other brands because it can be poured up to 3 inches thick. Now let's talk about mixing epoxy. When you have a couple gallons like this, it's crucial to mix thoroughly. I start out by using my drill in a very low setting. You do not want to mix this at full speed because that'll actually whip up bubbles in the epoxy. You're going to want to mix this for about 3 minutes and then take a stick and scrape all the sides and the bottom of the bucket. This will ensure you have no parts that are unmixed and sticking on the sides. I always add a little bit of dye. For this project, I want a smoky black, and it looks a lot darker than it really is here. It looks black, but I assure you this is actually very, very transparent. It's just, there's so much of it and it's so thick that all you see is all that pigment. So after adding the dye, I'm going to mix it again for another 3 minutes. So in total, I'm going to mix this thing for anywhere from 6 to 8 minutes. And I think that is kind of crucial when you do a lot of epoxy like this. This isn't a necessary step, but if you have one or if you can afford one, I'll put a link to this one in the description. It is well worth having a vacuum chamber. This is going to get all of these bubbles completely out of the epoxy before you pour. And you can see right here how much air is really inside this epoxy. And this is probably a little over a gallon here. And I had to turn on and off the machine probably 10 times to get it crystal clear. If you don't have a vacuum chamber, remember that Deep Pour X is a slow curing epoxy system, which basically means that you can allow this to sit 40 to 60 minutes in the bucket. This will actually allow for all those air bubbles to release on their own before pouring into the main mold. Here's another little trick I learned over the years. Use a long funnel going all the way to the bottom of your mold when you do your first pour. This will again eliminate and minimize bubbles. Everything we do here is just trying to minimize bubbles. For my next pours, I just poured it nice and slowly right on top of that walnut there. And again, the key is just to pour very slowly, trying to not create any kind of splashing or any turbulence like that. This mold has a total of 8 gallons of epoxy, and we are going to see how this thing works. I forgot to talk about the other advantage of having this fridge, and that is the top. With the top on, it's going to eliminate all chances of dust from the shop and from outside getting in here. So it is literally a perfect sealed, clean environment. Here it is after day 1. I'm just checking the viscosity and the temperature, and it is the same as the fridge. So right now we have a 0 reaction. On day 2, the viscosity is a little bit thicker and the temperature is still about the same, which again tells me that there has been no reaction yet. And day 3 now, let's check it out. So this looks very similar to day 2. Let's go ahead and check these temperature readings, see if we have any reaction going on. And nothing at all. Okay, so I'm a little bit worried right now. It has not changed over the past 2 days. The viscosity is still the same, which has me a little bit worried, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the refrigerator, keep the lid shut, that way it can kind of contain that cold air and gradually get warmer, and hopefully we can get this thing curing. So let's try that and see what happens. And on day 5, we have a firm surface. Now this isn't completely hardened. I could still probably stick my finger in this, but it's definitely thickening up for sure. And the temperatures are reading over 100 degrees. So this tells me that the reaction is happening, and I went ahead and left that another day. So here's day 6. The temperatures are starting to cool off, which to me means that the reaction happened already, and it's only gonna start decreasing, and this thing's gonna really start hardening up. We're on day 7 now, and we are the same temperature as the room temperature, so we are ready to take the mold out. Now something I didn't think about at all, but when I put the mold in, was how am I gonna get this thing out? This thing is so much heavier than it was without the epoxy, so I'm gonna have to kind of shimmy this around and get this out of here somehow. Shop helper would sure be nice right about now. All right, now that this mold is out safely and my back is still intact, let's take a look at this a little bit closer and let's start demolding. And we got a problem here. Okay, so this is very interesting. We are completely solid up here, completely solid. And down here, we are still a bit gooey. So I'm a little worried right now that it might not have cured at all down here, or what I'm hoping is that the temperature just didn't heat up enough yet down here, and this will continue to cure and harden up. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave all the other walls on, and we're gonna give this a day or 2 and see if this hardens up. Here's the next day, and I am happily greeted by a hard surface. So all this needed was another day to completely harden up, and we're good to go. So let's demold everything. Gotta love that mold release wax. All right, let's see what we're working with now. Seems like the sides need a little bit of polishing because the epoxy again is tinted black, so you can't really see inside as well as I want. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this entire thing up to 5,000 grit and polish it up and see what we can see inside here. And for a little more clarity, I'm just going to put this butcher block oil on, and this should really make us be able to see right through this thing. And check it out. We just did a 8-gallon pour with no bubbles, no fractures, and no exothermic reaction, even though we went 3 to 4 times over the manufacturer's perimeters for pouring this stuff. That's pretty cool. Now the main question is, how deep did we actually pour this? Because again, we have this black walnut burl in there, which is going to displace a lot of this epoxy. This section right here is the deepest part of the pour. It measures 8.5 inches tall by 9 3/4 inches thick by 8 inches wide. That means that the maximum depth of pour here is 8 inches, which is almost 3 times the recommended pour depth. Okay, I'm sure a lot of you are curious why I have this big cutout right here, and that is for a reason. Let me show you. This giant block is going to be a black rhino. I'm going to hand carve this thing, and this little piece right here would have just been cut off anyway. So this is just saving me, I don't know, half gallon to a full gallon of epoxy right here. And I think the smoky black epoxy is going to look really cool and a really good contrast with the black walnut burl buried inside. That depth is impressive and all, but I want to test this even further, so I went ahead and did a completely new pour. This time I used around 9 gallons of epoxy, and it measures 11 inches tall by 11 inches wide, and where it meets the wood is around 20 inches. So that means that the deepest part of this pour is right around here, and it is 11 inches thick. So I outdid the previous one, and I just poured 4 times the recommended depth on the bottle. So for this one, I wanted to experiment something a little bit different, and I paid a big price. As you can see, there are bubbles spread throughout this entire thing. What I did differently is I did not vacuum chamber or let the epoxy rest in the buckets before pouring in. My initial thought was, hey, once it's inside the refrigerator, it slows down the curing process, which would allow bubbles to rise to the surface and be gone. What actually happens is the epoxy, when it cools down, it will thicken up, and it thickens up enough to where bubbles will not escape. The key thing to take away from this is vacuum before pouring in, or let your epoxy rest inside the bucket before pouring in. Unfortunately for this one, it didn't work for the bubbles, but there's no fractures, there's nothing like that, so that was a success. It was just a small error on my part for not being patient enough. Okay, let's talk about specifics now and what I recommend doing if you want to do this yourself. Tip number 1. Use a vacuum chamber or rest your epoxy in the mixing bucket before pouring into the mold. Number 2, let's talk about temperature. Based on the results from these 2 pours, I would say the temperature you're looking for is between 50 and 55 degrees for the first couple days. After the 2 days, if you could gradually increase the temperature, I think that would be your best bet. What you want to do is test the viscosity every single day. If it starts to harden up or if it starts to get hot, I would lower the temperature again. Tip number 3, I would allow more time to cure than you think. Once the top is hard, I would still give it 2 to 3 days for the inside portion to completely cure. Lastly, this is a learning community and I am still trying to learn this. So if you guys have any insights, if you do this yourself, you do any kind of casting work, please let me know how you do it and how your results differed from this. I am super interested on everything there is in deep pour epoxy resin, so that would be really cool to learn from you guys as well. And I have one more surprise for you guys. This right here is the black rhino that I just poured in this video. I am about halfway done carving this thing, and this full video will be live in the next couple weeks, and I'm super excited to polish this up and see what it looks like inside. So stay tuned for that video. All right, I hope you guys learned something. I know I learned something. If you like this video, please let me know in the comments. Please subscribe to my channel where you will see this in the next couple weeks. And that's it. I'm Blake from BM Sculptures. See you guys later.